Picture this. It's the dead of night in Boston, and you're standing outside a museum that's home to some of the world's most valuable works of art. But instead of a security guard standing watch or a guard dog sniffing around, the museum's door opens at the sound of a soft bell. Two men, dressed like police officers, walk in. They're calm, collected, nothing out of the ordinary. You wouldn't think twice about it, would you? After all, who questions the cops? But here's the kicker. They aren't cops. And what happens next? One of the biggest heists in history, and it's never been solved. This is the true story of the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum heist, one of the most daring and mysterious art thefts in history. 13 priceless pieces of art, including works by Vermeer and Rembrandt, vanish into thin air, and nearly 30 years later, we still have no idea who did it or where the art is. It's like a scene from a movie, but it's real. And no one, not even the FBI, has been able to crack the case. So what happened that night, and why is this heist still unsolved? Keep watching, and let's dive into the mystery. March 18th, 1990. It's a quiet Sunday night in Boston. The city is still, and inside the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum, everything is business as usual. The museum is tucked away in the Fenway-Kenmore neighborhood, right in the heart of the city. It's not just any museum. This is a cultural gem. The Gardner Museum was founded by Isabella Stewart. Gardner herself, a legendary collector of art, and over the years, it became home to a trove of priceless treasures. Talking about works from artists like Vermeer, Rembrandt, and Degas. Say the art inside was valuable would be an understatement. We're talking hundreds of millions of dollars. The night of the heist, the museum's security was manned by two guards, Richard Abath and Ralph L. Galloway. They're there to keep an eye on the artwork, protect it from the usual mishaps of a museum, like a slip-up from a careless visitor. But little do they know, they're about to face something much worse than the usual trouble. Two men, disguised as police officers, show up at the museum's back door. And this is where things get weird. At 1:24 a.m., the two men ring the buzzer. Bath, the younger guard, answers the door. What happens next seems almost unbelievable. He lets them in. This wasn't some random pair of guys in ski masks or hoodies. No, these two were dressed in police uniforms. So when they said they were responding to a call and needed to check the premises, what could Abath do? He opens the door and lets them inside. These men were professionals. They knew exactly what they were doing. They were in and out in no time, without raising any suspicion. It seems like they knew the layout of the museum too, because they went straight for the good stuff. These guys weren't interested in random trinkets or low-level artifacts. They were after the big guns, Vermeer's The Concert, Rembrandt's Storm on the Sea of Galilee, Degas' The Homage to Leonardo da Vinci. We're talking about priceless art that could change the financial game for whoever got their hands on it. They were looking for masterpieces, the ones that had been in the museum for years, sometimes centuries. The two men handcuff the guards and lock them in the basement. So far, so good. Now they're free to do whatever they want, and they don't waste any time. They go straight to the most valuable part of the museum, the Dutch room, where the Vermeer and Rembrandt are displayed. But here's where the planning comes into play. They knew exactly where the best pieces were, and more importantly, they knew how to get to them. Inside the museum, there's a security room with a couple of monitors, but the thieves were smart. They didn't even bother with the security system. They didn't need to. They simply walked in, told the guards they were under arrest, and took them out of the equation. And because they were dressed as police officers, no one questioned them. There was no panic. No alarms went off. In fact, Abath said later that he actually felt bad for letting them in, but they were so convincing that there was no reason to doubt them. So these guys start working their way through the museum. One of them heads upstairs to the Dutch room, where the major paintings are, while the other goes down to the European galleries. They were methodical, efficient. You could say they had done this before. For an hour and a half, they quietly took the artwork off the walls and cut the frames open with precision. 13 pieces in total. 13 incredible works of art. Gone. They weren't just grabbing things left and right. had an eye for the rarest and most valuable pieces. And here's something interesting. While they were taking these works, the thieves didn't just make their escape in a rush. They were in no hurry at all. They had plenty of time. In fact, they spent over 81 minutes inside the museum, and in that time they took their sweet time. They even stepped out of the museum for a break in the middle of the robbery. At one point, they left the museum entirely, walked outside, and then came back in. Just think about that for a second. These guys were so confident, so calm, that they just left the scene during a multi-million-dollar heist and came back in. There's something eerie about that level of calmness when you're committing one of the biggest art thefts in history. March 19th, the next morning comes and the staff arrive at the museum only to find something unbelievable. The place is silent. No one's around. The alarms have been tripped. The guards are locked in the basement. And the artwork? Gone. Just like that. The thieves had made their escape, and no one even heard them leave. The museum was locked down, the police arrived, and so did the FBI. No one had a clue what had happened. And here's where things get even weirder. The thieves left no fingerprints, no clues. There were no obvious signs of a struggle. It's like they had vanished into thin air, taking the art with them. For the years, law enforcement has tried every angle. They've followed leads, interviewed hundreds of suspects, and spent millions of dollars trying to track these paintings down. But nothing. No new information, no real clues. No one ever caught the thieves. These paintings, once worth hundreds of millions, are still gone. The FBI still has an open case on the theft, and they've gone through all kinds of theories. Some believe the art was destroyed, others think the paintings were sold on the black market. But others, the real conspiracy theorists, think that the paintings are out there somewhere, hidden in plain sight, maybe in a private collection or maybe sitting in some guy's attic, just waiting to be discovered. One thing's for sure, the mystery hasn't been solved. These 13 masterpieces worth $500 million have never been recovered. Now, if you're sitting there thinking, how is this possible? How could they get away with it? Well, I don't have the answer. But here's a little something to keep you up at night. In the years following the heist, there have been no significant leads. One has been caught. It's almost like the thieves just disappeared. So where are the paintings now? Could they still be out there? Or were they destroyed to cover up the crime? Only time will tell. Thanks for joining me on this wild ride through one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of the art world. If you found this story as fascinating as I did, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss any future mysteries or true crime stories. And of course, I want to hear your thoughts. What do you think happened to the stolen art? Drop your theories in the comments below. Maybe, just maybe, you'll be the one to solve this mystery. Till next time, keep your eyes peeled, because who knows, the next big heist might just be around the corner.